Hello and welcome to The Point with Ana Kasparian. I am not Ana Kasparian, she's right there, you can see her.
Hey.
I am Malcolm Fleschner and I am the executive producer of The Point with Ana Kasparian. And we're doing a special producers only episode today. Earlier, Russell Simmons was in the studio and he took our time slot for an interview with Cenk, which you should definitely check out. And so we only had a few minutes, so we thought we'd put together a producers episode. So let me first introduce, you already met Ana, but and you already know Ana anyway. This is Amir Nikoui. How do you pronounce your last name?
Nikoui.
Nikoui is right. And he is the director. How long have you been directing The Point?
Almost a year now.
And you feel like
10 months.
You getting your sea legs?
I think so. At least you tell me I am. So.
I think Amir is doing a great job with the directing, and congratulations on your success as a top flight director. You in the SAG? You in the union yet?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll work on that.
I had my first production assistant credit though a couple months ago.
We also have a screen that's blinking out, and I said I don't care because
I cannot wait until we are in a different studio. Like this is look, this is producers only. We get to talk about whatever we want. This is like an ongoing issue with the show where like for some reason or another we don't have control over our own screens. Like people are messing around downstairs or I don't know what's going on. But pretty soon we'll be in our own space.
We were able to solve the human genome.
With us. That's what's happening.
Yeah, no, the human genome we could deconstruct. This screen, unfortunately, that's beyond the realm of science to figure out why that screen is blinking. Sorry, there's nothing to be done. So anyway, some of the things we want to talk about today include what some of the changes that have gone on in the show. As you know, now it's The Point with Ana Kasparian. It's not just The Point anymore because Ana has officially ensconced herself. I'm uncomfortable in this chair because the grooves are all perfect for Ana. So it's uncomfortable for me. But she's our host now permanently. Occasionally we have guest hosts when you go off to New York to hang with your celebrity buddies.
With Meghan McCain. I don't know if that's considered a celebrity buddy, but she is a buddy. I love her. She's great.
And she's going to be on. You've promised to get her on the show next week, right?
Well, I'm going to do my best. I would actually love to have her on the program. Like she is so much fun. She has like the TYT identity, and I didn't expect that when I first met her. But she's very honest, uncensored, unfiltered, and it would just be really cool to have her on the show and shoot the shit.
She's in here like 20 minutes. She'll start talking about privatized prisons and how we got those damn for-profit colleges, and it's in you can't help yourself. Anyway, so one of the things we want to talk about today is the new focus of the show. Not only is it on Ana, she's got the no filter segment, which we begin with, where Ana rants about something that she's upset about or concerned about or wants to let you know how she feels about, which has gotten a really good response, I think, right?
Yeah, I love no filter. I think no filter is the one thing that I truly do look forward to every single week. Like, I love what I do, I love my job, but no filter is a great opportunity for me to rant about something that I wouldn't normally get the opportunity to rant about on The Young Turks. And the reason why I say that is because The Young Turks is the show that I co-host. So I share the spotlight with Cenk, and it's hard to have a conversation sometimes about something that you feel so passionately about because you kind of want to go off without any interruptions. So no filter gives me the opportunity to do that. It's really cool. I like it.
Don't interrupt.
Yeah, don't interrupt me.
And then there's also Hottie or Naughty, where you also get to spout off about who you think has done a good job with something or other, and who has done a shitty job, and who deserves. Right. But isn't it just going to be Chris Brown every week? Is he going to be the naughty every week?
Well, the very first naughty was Hillary Clinton because she did this like ridiculous photo op with President Obama in order to stir the pot a little bit, get people talking about her possible 2016 run, and No.
It's never too early to start talking about the 2016 campaign. That's Ana's motto. It's
very symbolic and indicative of what's wrong with our so-called democracy.
Annoying.
Instead of focusing on real policy issues, and I believe that she does focus on policy issues, but instead of having people come and take pictures of you doing something that's relevant, you're having people come and take pictures of you having lunch with Obama so we can talk about how you might possibly run in freaking 4 years, or 3 years, I should say. I hate that. I hate horse race politics. I love policy, not the horse race.
You don't love this country, because that's what this country is all about.
Yeah, I know.
Get out.
I know. John Iadarola loves the horse race. He's like, oh, this is so cool. I got this new poll, and it says that Hillary Clinton is. I'm
He's
just
over
like,
there shaking his head.
Who cares about the polls? The election is 3 years away.
Yeah, if we cared about polls, we would have President Herman Cain or President Michelle Bachmann, or at least the Republican candidate would have been. But Newt Gingrich. Santorum, but none of them. And so, but it's something people pay attention to. But we don't do that here on The Point. No horse races on The Point. But what we do cover, and the way we've got it set up now, is we'll start with a segment that is what we call evergreen, typically not keyed on a recent news story as much, but we'll talk about some issue like the war on drugs or whatever for 15 minutes, where we have a really substantive discussion. And then we also do more fun stories, lighthearted stories that are just we can have a little conversation, but it doesn't have to be something, it's not Syria necessarily or something really upsetting. So that's the way the direction of the show is going. How do you, what do you think of it, Amir? How do you like?
I really like the new direction of the show, actually. Like, what the main focus was to just like make this more centered around Anna in general. I feel like it's a show driven by personality as opposed to like the topics that we talk about. So it's good.
Yeah, I mean,
enjoy making it every week.
It's interesting because usually with shows, you'll have this discussion within production meetings. Should it be personality driven? Should it be topic driven? Should it be panel driven? And ultimately, we decided, and believe me, I didn't have that much sway in this. Ultimately, they decided that it should be centered on the host, which made me a little uncomfortable because I'm not used to that.
We thought the host was going to be John Fugelsang at that time.
I know, and then they fucked up. John Fugelsang couldn't do it, and they ended up with me, and they're like, damn, now we have to make the show about her. But I actually don't like to say that the show's about me because the topics that we choose are chosen very carefully. There's a lot of discussion that goes on behind the scenes, and there's some debating as to what we should talk about. So at the end of the day, the topic should be the most important. But I do like that I get an opportunity to use this platform to talk about things that I do find important.
And there's also the question of the panelists. That's another thing we talk about, is whether we have just regulars who are here week after week, like Desi Doyen, and Dave Rubin is another one who's a regular, and Kelly Carlin's now become a semi-regular. Or we bring in new blood. And actually, I'd like to know what you guys think. If you comment in the message section, or whether you want a lot of new panelists to come in. Sometimes we bring in new panelists and they don't work out so well. And then other times it's great. And so we take a chance a little bit. And if you guys would tell us, no, you know what, we like Dave Rubin, we love Desi, we like the people. John Adirola is also another one who's frequently on.
He's
I know
all right.
no one cares for him. But if that's what you like, then we'd like to orient the show in that. John's like, oh, this bus just keeps hitting me.
Yeah,
I'm hurt, dog. And but that's what I'd like to know what you think, not only about the topics we choose, but also about the panelists and who you like and who maybe you don't like so much. I know I have been a panelist a couple of times when someone needed to fill in, and I was the only person around. And I know you wouldn't like that, so you don't have to talk about how.
Great,
yeah. But so we're also going to be moving into a new studio.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that's going to. You want to talk a little bit about the new studio, Amir?
So I've been into the new studio space a couple times so far, and we're just looking at what kind of designs that we can use for the Point setup and other setups and whatnot. But it's still in the making. And
we're very excited, though. We're all very excited.
I'm excited because the screen flashing on and off.
No, we're bringing that with us.
That's the
driving
first
me crazy.
thing we're going to bring with us to the new
I think on the
studio.
last day here, we should get to take the screen and just throw it off the side of the building.
We'll have
and
like an office
shatter
space
it.
moment, except instead of the printer, we'll do it with this
We'll take it out
massive
to a
screen.
field somewhere and
Yeah.
just like edit
Oh,
the
that
shit.
sounds so much fun. Get some baseball bats and start smashing it.
Yeah, that's right. Don't blink anymore. We're coming for you. The other thing I wanted to talk about before we go is we get we covered last week on the show. We talked about the story was about orgasms and whether orgasms are good for your brain health, and it was sort of a silly story. But often we'll cover topics where the people who are on the panel are not experts. None of us were neuroscientists, but we talk about these topics that we don't have expertise in. And so in the comments section, sometimes people get on our case, say, how can you talk about this when a bunch of ignoramuses talking about these topics? And for me, I think if it's a fun story like that, you don't need to have an expertise. We're informing you about that this research is going on and what do we think about it, and we have a little fun with it. And what do you think about but there's also a line that you draw where if you start purporting to be experts or expressing an expert opinion and you're not, then you get into a real gray area.
If we're doing a story on a proposed cure for cancer and we're being highly critical of it based on something that we don't understand at all, then I think that those are totally legitimate criticisms. If we're talking about how one scientist thinks that orgasms are awesome, I think that we're qualified to talk about that. It'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to look at the seriousness of the story. And when we do stories like that, typically it's later in the show. We're having fun. It's one of the shorter segments. But we do generally stick to topics that we do know a lot about. So the reason why we do a lot of political news is because I would consider myself someone who's knowledgeable on politics. I have my master's in political science. I've been working for a political talk show for 7 years. So yeah, I mean, we try to shy away from stories that are a little too scientific because I'm not a scientist. Usually our panelists aren't scientists. But that doesn't mean that we can't like at least briefly mention or talk about those stories. Like, oh look, there's this new advancement in medicine. We can talk about that kind of stuff. We don't have to get into the nitty-gritty, but.
So that actually kind of reminds me of like stories that we want to cover in the future. I know I've already brought it up with you guys. I want to like do something about EDM culture, music festivals, because like something I'm interested in, and I feel something that our generation is like really into right now. Other than that, like I also wanted to do something about the militarization of the police force in the United States. So those are two things that I'm hoping in the future we can cover. But what about you guys? What do you
those
guys
those are two topics that I really, really love. Right now, I'm just fascinated by the millennial generation. There's been a lot of news and a lot of hype about that. There's been a lot of criticism about millennials. And a topic like EDM and EDM culture would be so appealing to people in our age group. And it is something that I'm interested in. I love electronic dance music. We recently did a story on Mali for TYT, and I had a lot of fun discussing that. And it's just like certain things that are trending right now in our generation that we'd have a really fun conversation about. The next episode of The Point will be dedicated a little more to millennials. We're going to talk a little bit about, what was the first segment on, Malcolm?
Oh, I didn't know you were going to put me on the spot. Well, I thought it would just be generally about how millennials are being screwed over. And, you know, for example, you know, Social Security, everyone who talks about reforming Social Security says, well, we want to keep it the same for current retirees, but for future generations, they're going to have cuts. And, you know, and then there's student loans, obviously. But I think it's also an important part of the story is how older generation doesn't understand how we're screwing over millennials, how much more student loan debt you have. Because there's this notion like, just go to college, you take out some loans, and you pay them back, and it's fine. But they were not graduating from college with, you know, looking to be paying their, you know, their student loan debt well into their 50s. And so there's no conception how hard it is. And then it makes millennials, your choices are so limited. You can't take chances because you have to get a job immediately, start paying back these. You can't be entrepreneurial, you can't take chances with your career, try something and it doesn't work out, try something else, because you're so circumscribed by having to pay back this debt immediately. And you can't go into bankruptcy, you know, you're saddled with that for life. And I think a lot of older people, my generation, by the way, what is this EDM you speak of? Is that like Dixieland at all?
No, it's like erectile dysfunction.
Oh, I know all about that. Speaking of the orgasm segment, but I think that's an interesting thing that people in my generation and older need to hear about, and how the job market is so much harder and so on, all these sorts of things.
I get the sense, whenever I read columns or opinion pieces about millennials written by people in your age group, I feel like they just seem a little out of touch with some of the obstacles that we're facing right now.
The surface.
Yeah, and I can totally understand it because I feel like older generations lived a very different lifestyle where they graduated college, they found a company, they stayed at that company for the rest of their lives. They worked their way up the ladder. Whereas millennials can't even afford to do that. Millennials need to graduate and start making money immediately, and they need to make a lot of money to pay for the debt. So we're a lot less okay with being complacent or staying at one company and making a tiny amount of money for a long period of time and then working our way up. Like, we want to go, and we also understand that now it's a global economy. We don't need the house with the white picket fence. More and more millennials are thinking about living in the city, you know, abandoning the suburbs. I mean, the differences are really, really fascinating, so I'm looking forward to having that discussion.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'll have to make that happen. And, you know, anything else you guys want to talk about? But we do want to hear from you guys. Let us know what you think about these topics and what you want to see from The Point in the future, because, I mean, The Point is a very specific show. It's a show that's serious, about serious politics, and also sort of takes a lighter tone, as we said earlier. But we have a dedicated fan base, and we really do appreciate the people who watch it and the people who, I mean, we roll out the segments during the week. As we edit them, we roll out a new segment every day or two or whatever, and then have the full show at the end. And people get mad at us. Why don't you post the whole show? We don't have the whole show edited yet. We edit them as soon as we have a segment edited. We post it, and But I appreciate that you are so enthusiastic. Which has cameras, but I don't know which one.
I
that
think
they want
it's-
it, the whole episode.
Well, I am happy that they're enthusiastic. I think that at some point we should probably have a discussion about whether or not we should post the entire episode. I'm actually against it. I know.
You're the
that-
one who's been writing
yeah,
all those
I'm
emails.
against it. It's just not good for YouTube's format. It isn't. People have short attention spans. I know that there's like a few of you that will watch the entire video and you guys love it, but honestly, there's like 12 of you that like that.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I think that the vast majority of
I have to
YouTube,
agree with Anna on this
yeah,
one,
the
too.
vast majority of YouTube consumers like to watch like short 5-minute clips, 5-minute max.
Right.
So even when we have these long 15-minute discussions, I'm a little weary of.
Bear in mind, we are, however many minutes into a conversation about the show,
Yeah,
and the people
I mean,
who are
we've
still
already
watching
lost
now.
the audience. Like,
the
right,
people-
this is just a circle jerk.
You're
right
bad.
now.
You're bad mouthing the people who are the ones who watch the full episode because they're the only ones who would stick through this, for this
I'm
length.
not even bad mouthing you. You guys are my favorite viewers, but there are so few of you. So
All right. Well, anyway, so thank you for tuning into the producers only episode. We didn't get a chance to badmouth Steve O, who was not able to join us today because he's doing important work at the track. But we appreciate his efforts too, and how hard he works for the point also when he does. And so thanks for sticking around with us for this long.
Yeah.
And thanks to you two for sitting with me and talking about the point. And next week, you look forward to the millennial episode, and then soon, new
Don't
studio.
forget to subscribe. Tell your friends about the
yes,
point.
tell your friends about the point. What's going on, man? We gotta up the subscriptions.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.